Mr. McKirk, while we're on the subject, did you want to share any details in terms of the attack on Camp Ashcroft, and in your judgment, who you believe was involved in that, since that was the question at hand?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the last time I was here, I discussed what we know. We believe it was a militia. We believe the militia was trained by Iran, and that's really the primary responsibility. And we have, since that very horrific attack, we worked to get the survivors out of Camp Ashraf, which is about 40 miles from the Iranian border, and onto Camp Liberty. Camp Liberty is not safe, but it's safer. We have the UN in the camp every day, monitoring the camp. And again, when I try to go to the camp and meet with the survivors and the residents there. So we're doing...
And you're making efforts right now to relocate the survivors?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Judge Ted Poe from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to talk about what you probably thought I would talk about today, is the MEK. The last time you were here and you testified before my subcommittee and the chairwoman, Eliana Ross-Layton subcommittee, I made the statement that there would probably be more attacks on Camp Liberty. And unfortunately, I was correct. Camp Liberty was attacked again. 4 people killed, 7 injured. 1 young man lost both of his legs. Since 2009, there have been 7 attacks on Camp Liberty or Camp Ashraf. During that time, 19 times members of the State Department have testified. Most of those, or many of those, were about Camp Liberty, in addition to other things. And all those attacks, to my knowledge as of today, not one person has been captured or charged with any of those killings. Not one. And they're still on the loose. As I alluded to in my testimony, I personally believe that the Maliki government is in cahoots with the Iranian government to let Camp Liberty, Camp Ashraf, be subject to attacks. These last attacks, my understanding, were rockets came in that were 3 meters long, 40 of them. It seems impossible to me that a rogue Iranian militia could sneak those by anybody and then fire them over a period of time and cause this chaos and murder. And I bring this up for several reasons. One, it hadn't been resolved. But this has become very personal to people who live in my district. I represent people who are Iranian Americans. They know these people that are being killed. They are family. They are friends. And they come and they visit and they tell us, it's happened again, Judge Poe, with tears in their eyes. So it's become personal. Many of those people are sitting behind you and they come up here wanting help. That's all they want, is the United States has, said that we promised them. They just want their loved ones safe. Safe first from the constant attacks by I believe the Iraqi and the Iranians working together. But long term, they want to leave. They want to be in a safe country. Now, when you visited, and I commend you for going to visit the camp, did you see these, what look like graves, but they are really what these are used for? The people at Camp Liberty are in such fear of their lives, they no longer stay in these trailer houses here. They have dug themselves what looks like a grave to hide in when the attacks come from the rockets. And they dig these and they put sandbags around them, and then they're ready for the next attack. They jump in these things. Some of them sleep in these things at night, even in the rain, to try to be safe. It seems to me this is a fairly tragic situation when people live like this in fear of where they are, whether it's the Iraqis, whether it's the Iranians, or both. Did you see any of this when you were there? These, what they use as now foxholes to hide in from the rockets?
I didn't see that particular lane, but I saw some of the bunkers at the camp.
Well, I'm sure you'll see it on your next visit. But now this is what they have resorted to for their own safety. I think that is an international human rights concern. it should be. The T-walls, you mentioned T-walls are coming. I understand they hadn't gotten any T-walls today. 17,000 of them were removed in a short period of time. Now they're wanting to put them back in slowly. It's a safety hazard. They just want these T-walls to be safe. They ought to move them in now. The other concern that I wanted to mention is the resettlement issue. They want to leave Iraq. We want them to leave. The Iraqis want them to leave. The Iranians want them to. I'm not so sure what the Iranians want. But the West constantly says, because the United States has not taken any of these people, we're not going to take them either. When the U.S. starts leading by example rather than just talking about removing these people, then maybe we'll take them as well. Why haven't these folks been sent to other countries? Why haven't we taken some of them or all of them? That's my first question. And the second question is, when you visited with the survivors of the Ashraf camp attack, did they tell you who they believed was responsible for attacking them and killing their families and their friends? Those are the two questions I have.
I agree with you that this is an international human rights concern. That is why, as I mentioned in my response earlier, I find it encouraging that there is now United Nations focus with the Resettlement Fund, a full-time person at the United Nations to focus on this issue. And as you also correctly point out, very few countries around the world, despite the international human rights concern, have agreed to take the residents into their territory. This is an international human rights concern, and it has to be treated with the utmost urgency. As you know, we are considering options to relocate and integrate Camp Berea residents in the United States in close coordination with the White House, Department of Homeland Security, and other relevant agencies. And any eligible residents would have to be fully vetted, of course, under our standards by the Department of Homeland Security. But that is something that we are actively considering, I can assure you. But we also, and I would encourage those who care about the residents, as do we, to lobby other capitals around the world, given that this is an international human rights concern, to take residents into their territory. We have a full-time person working on it. We encourage the UN, and they have now appointed a full-time person to work on the problem. And we have a UN resettlement fund to encourage other countries to take the residents in.
And we promised them that, did we not, that we would protect them and that we would take care of them back during the conflict when they were repatriated, so to speak, to the camp? You're aware of how many of them have paid a terrific price with their lives to live there under the agreement that we made?
I am, sir, yes.
Okay, and you're aware that they're basically having to live in graves now. We're not getting T-walls, the protection installed that they used to have. It's just unbelievable, the paper-thin walls that they're living in and the attacks that are coming from outside. You're aware of that?
Yes, sir, and as I said, I was at the camp this month and talked to the residents about what it's like to live in a trailer when colleagues of yours are being killed by rockets in trailers. It's something that many of us can recall.
The bad news is they've had to dig out a 3-foot wide by 6-foot grave, basically, and live in it to avoid the rocket attacks. How long does that have to go on? Should we not be pressing for aid to get them out of the country? And at best, while we're working diligently on that, should we not be getting them protection? How much longer do you estimate that going on?
As I said earlier, we need to do everything we can to get them out of the country.
I'm told your comments earlier, I was late from another hearing, that you made comments that the T-walls are currently being installed.
That was the information that I received this morning.
Okay.
The T-walls would begin moving in again today or tomorrow.
Would you be interested to know that we've had cell phone communication from the residents inside the camp, and that's not the case?
All I can say, Congressman, my understanding was there was a decision made this morning to begin moving T-walls back into the camp. Whether or not that's actually started or not, I don't know, but I can assure you, based upon the information I've received, that we will follow up, and if in fact T-walls are not being moved into the camp, that'll be a very serious matter, and I will follow up with you as soon as I receive the information.
How soon?
I can follow up with you in the next 48 hours to make sure that T-walls are moving back into the camp.
Okay. And is there a third-party verification? Because when the Iraqi government, I'm sorry, for me, they don't have a lot of credibility. It's almost as if the residents of Camp Liberty are the enemy and not the victims that they are. Is there a third
I mean, surely you're not saying that you're going to call them and they're going to say, of course.
No. We will talk to our colleagues at the United Nations mission in Iraq, and the deputy there, Georgie Bouston, who is at the camp regularly, and he will be able to verify with eyes on whether or not.
Well, as we watch Iraq descend, I hope you make it an extreme priority to get them out.
We will do so. Thank you.
Thank you.